This episode of the Cole Memo was streamed live on YouTube. We might do more live streams in the future. If you want to get notified when we go live, go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. The easiest way to get there is at thecolememo.com/YouTube. Hey folks, if you're in Chicagoland, I've got an upcoming screening for my mini doc. It's in Blue Island, Illinois, which, like I just said, is in Chicagoland. So if you're in the area, come check it out. You can get your tickets at colememo.com/minidoc. colememo.com/minidoc is where you can get your tickets now. You can also stream the mini documentary now. If you go to colememo.com/minidoc to get tickets for public screenings, just click public screenings or scroll down to the public screenings section. You can see that many people have reviewed the mini doc already, and it's gotten 5-star reviews. Once again, you can watch it now on Patreon for just $15. I do want to say that if you're purchasing off of Patreon, do not purchase it from an iOS device. Purchase it off of your computer and then watch it on your iOS device. The reason I say that is because Apple has added fees to any purchases you make on an iOS or Apple device. So instead of paying the $15 flat, you'd be paying $15 plus a little fee to Apple, which is just not cool, right? So if you just want to pay $15 to see my mini doc, go to thecolememo.com/minidoc. Here's a brief teaser at the mini doc. Enjoy this teaser. Enjoy the episode.
Beginning January 1st, 2020, the recreational use of cannabis will be legal in the state of Illinois.
Available to stream now, my mini doc dives into the history of Illinois legalization, starting with
January 1st. What should we expect? The biggest thing that we need people to understand is that January 1, in terms of the criminal justice system here in this state, is the end of prohibition.
See how Illinois missed its chance at real cannabis reform with key failures, including the fact that
the program includes regulation on possession limits.
So people can still be arrested for a possession.
And I want to highlight that in its first year of legalized recreational marijuana in the state of Illinois, they arrested 3 times as many black people for possession than any other race.
We've run into so much cannabis, we've run out of places to put it.
I've represented people and taken their cases through the court system who got charged with more serious crimes only because the police said that they smelled cannabis. And not because the police said you have illegal cannabis, or not because you have too much cannabis, or not because you're high on cannabis, but because I can smell it and that's it.
Attorney goes, he understands that he can't be smoking and his cannabis flower shouldn't be open. And I was like, I'd like to say for the record that I was not smoking and my flower was not open.
So that's where we're at right now in Illinois.
Yeah.
And I hope it changes.
Start watching now at colememo.com/minidoc.
And we are live streaming.
We're live. We're live. It's 4 o'clock on the dot here in Chillinois, as some people say. I'm going to text Mike Malcolm just to make sure that he's all good on his end. And I just want to say hello, Jason Beck from High at 9 News. Dude, since we're live, why don't you take it? Tell people about yourself and the platform.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me today, Cole. I am Jason Beck, the highest Republican in all of the land, as well as creator and host of High at 9 News, which is America's #1 daily cannabis news show, airing every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And it would actually be at 11 a.m. in Cole's time zone. That's right, out there in the Chillinois area of the Central Time Zone. And we cover 6 stories every day, everything that you need to know in order to grow, develop, and pivot in the ever-changing cannabis industry. So if you haven't, please check us out. And thank you, Cole, for having me today. I'm not hearing
Whoops,
you.
I was muted.
There we go.
That was my bad.
All
Mike
right,
Malcolm
you're
just
freaking me
joined
out.
us.
You're freaking
Yep,
me
that
out
was
for
my
a
bad,
second.
dude.
Yo,
Yeah. How's it going, bro? How's it
good.
going?
I'm trying to. What's up, Jason? I'm trying to.
Hey, how are you, Michael?
Good. I'm trying to log on through my computer. Hold on.
No problem. No
Give you a
problem.
wide screen.
I am just displaying right now on the screen for folks that are tuning in. By the way, Mike, this is a first. This is like a historic Cole Memo episode. It's one of the first we've done live. So,
Okay.
um,
Where are you
displaying
streaming on?
YouTube. So
Nice.
I'm about to drop the link again on Instagram and everything else so that people can hop over. But, um, yeah. So there's Jason's website. If people want to hop over, they're also on YouTube, which you can see those links here. YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all that stuff.
All the good stuff.
Check them out. Mike, I'll have you introduce yourself when you're ready. I know you said you're hopping over. It's okay. I'm just rolling up weeds, so we're all good. We're about to get rolling anyways.
Yeah, I'm ready. I forgot which email you sent it to. That's the problem. I can't pull the invite up on my calendar.
Oh, no problem. Here, let me
I think I got it. Oh, you know what? I know how to do it. Do it from my text message. And really, we could get going, bro. I can switch it over.
Sweet. Well, I know Jason's all rolled up. Mike, you all rolled up? You're gonna be rolling up like me.
Yeah, I'm gonna be rolling up like you. I'm
Cool.
just like juggling 3 different things at a time. I just got back in the house, actually, honestly.
It's almost good though to start with rolling up because it's like that ritual. It kind of like grounds you, Like I don't know, for me, I also just got home, and so yeah. What were you about to say, Jason?
I was gonna say, if you get ready or if you stay ready, you don't got to
You don't have to get ready. That's right.
That's right. Yes.
I could do too.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, I feel like the timing is fucking perfect on this conversation. There was just headlines in the news. What was the headlines? It was something about Kamala and Trump trade blows.
I could give you the headlines today. The headlines today was that Trump comes out with an endorsement of Amendment 3 in Florida, and that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz criticized Trump and his administration for being a flip-flopper on cannabis policy, which I find extremely ironic. Yes, extremely ironic. Yeah.
Mike's just joining back, so we're gonna run it back just a second. He probably is also well aware of the headline, but we're displaying the headline right now.
Mm-hmm.
Harris campaign criticizes Trump for brazen flip-flops on marijuana. So as you said,
we covered both of those stories today on High at 9 News.
Hell yeah. I'll throw the link for today's stream in the show notes if people are watching this after the fact and want to check that out on High at 9. Because I know you've got different correspondents and stuff, so different opinions and all that. But before we jump into that, I wanted to just back up because Jason, we had you introduce yourself, and now that we got Mike here, Mike, I want to give you the space to introduce yourself. It's not your first time on the show, but just in case people aren't aware of who you are, please introduce yourself and tell us where they can find you, but also, where you work online.
Yeah. Do you guys see me? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, look at that, bro. Looking good, Mike.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So Mike Malcolm, I am originally from Chicago, but I'm out here in LA now. CMO of Kranja. I'm also an account exec at our distro, JC Red. You can find me on all the internets at Mike G the God. And I think that's about it. I got other titles, but I'll leave it at that right now.
KranjaCulture.com. I wanted to plug that.
KranjaCulture.com for sure. We try to stay kind of like apolitical with Kranja. So, but yeah, it's definitely repping the brand always.
Yeah. Well, good. That's a good little disclaimer there. You're speaking on behalf of yourself, not on behalf of your brand. I just wanted to make sure to plug.
I always
plug
what you do. I mean, my partners think like me, right? Sure. But I also like to respect their opinion and give them opportunities to speak. So I always keep that in mind. I think we talked about this a little bit before, Cole. Mm-hmm. I always like to, even when I post my opinion pieces. Just yesterday, I posted my top 5 burger joints in LA, and I didn't post it on the Kranja wallpaper because I don't want Kranja to be associated with my personal views on burgers, right? People have strong feelings about their preferred burger spots in LA, and I don't want to start no mess. I want people to know that it's coming from my thoughts and not I'm not speaking on behalf of Cranja when I tell you the top 5 burger places in LA. So
Yeah. It's kind of crazy how coincidentally, Mike, I know you from Illinois, but you both are calling in from California today. Jason, are you
that's
also
right.
in LA?
No, I am in sunny Orange County.
Orange County, gotcha.
Yes.
Cool. Is that,
Yeah,
I don't
he's
even know whereabouts.
that's
I don't know.
a little
It's
bit south.
yeah, it's just
Okay,
south. It's just south of Los Angeles County.
gotcha. Nice. Well, it looks beautiful, and I'm
Yeah.
jealous.
No, it's beautiful out here. Beautiful out here.
Cool. Well, to get right back to it, I brought both of you on because Jason, literally your name here on Zoom says Jason Beck, the highest Republican. Mike,
Hmm.
we've both had conversations about uh, Harris and Trump and their stances on cannabis, and of course, like I was leading with, seems like better time than ever to discuss this with headlines like this from ABC News. Harris campaign criticizes Trump for brazen flip-flops on marijuana. Before we get into this, I just want to say that it's like wherever you stand and whoever you're voting for this fall, I think it's very interesting that both candidates are quote unquote trading blows on marijuana now. I'm
That
sure
was a
both
good
of
pun
us
there. That was a
both
good
I was
pun
gonna say
there.
that was a good pun,
Yeah.
trading
Yeah.
blows.
Good pun, Cole. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. But I think both of us may agree that depending on where we stand, that we might think that somebody's words are hollow, right? So that's kind of what I want to get into today. I know that Jason, you're on the Trump side, and
Hmm.
Mike, I know you're on the Harris side. So that's kind of what I wanted to get into today. Who wants to lead with? I don't even really. I feel like we're talking about cannabis today. I know that this can branch out in many different ways, obviously, because I don't know. I don't take any of you as single issue voters. It's not like you're only voting for your candidate because of this single issue. But as much as we can, if we can keep it focused on cannabis, I think this could be a very vibrant conversation. Again, I'm not setting walls. I'm not saying
Hmm.
we can't step
No,
outside of it, but you get what I'm saying.
Hmm.
I'm a single issue voter, but only that I hate Trump. So
Okay.
the only issue. So I'm a single issue voter in that way.
I don't understand how anybody can hate Trump.
So you want me to start, Cole? Do you want me to just say my general
Yeah,
aversions
please.
to Trump, and then Jason, you can respond if you want?
Yeah, most definitely.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. So number one, I think Trump is a racist. Right. I think that Trump is a con man. I think Trump is a sexual predator. So those 3 things from the start are no-goes, in my opinion. I can never support somebody who has not just been accused, but found guilty of all 3 things. All right. And so there's a lot of other things with that as well. But I think those are the that's why I said the absolute no starters for me. So am I a single issue voter? I am not, or I am only in the way that I'm against everything that he stands for. And as somebody that travels internationally a lot, I know what that means and just how we're looked at in the world. And I know for a fact that we are not viewed. I've traveled a lot before Trump. I've traveled during Trump, and I've traveled since Trump, and it's never a good thing. People never have good things to say about us, and so that's just that's just me wrapped up in a nutshell, real quick.
So it sounds to me, Mike, and correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't sound like you're necessarily a Harris supporter. You're just more anti-Trump.
I am a Harris supporter I am a Harris supporter, but I am more of a Trump disliker than I am a Harris supporter. Harris definitely has my support. I want to see a Black woman in office. I think that she has better policies. I think that I'm not a Democrat.
Hmm.
I don't think that any party has uh, I want to say this. I don't think that any party, I think that both parties are corrupt in their own ways. I think that the Republicans have gone off the deep end, though. Like they've turned their loyalty to Trump, or um, their support of Trump has turned into more of a cult than it's little to do with his policies at this point, and I think it's more emotional. Whereas people who have are well, I'm not gonna say all people. Whereas I think Harris in general just has better policies. And I think the policies could be debated for sure. And I think that even for her, I was telling people before she even was the Democratic nominee, I think that it actually wasn't even fair to her in some ways because she had such a short time to get all this together. Right. And so, like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, she doesn't have anything on her website as far as policies. But like 2 months ago, she didn't even know she was going to be running for president. Right. So I think that some of that has to be hashed out. I think some of that she rightfully can be criticized maybe for not having all of her plans in place. But I think whatever she puts in place is going to be better than waking up every morning to just seeing nonsense, spread across our screens. And I think nobody has divided this country more than Trump, whether it was when he initially launched his campaign talking about Mexicans are rapists, or when Obama was running and he talked about his birth certificate, or like I said, I mean, just his general approach to women in general with bragging about how it's okay to sexually assault people. Like, I think that's beneath us as a country. And I would just never want anybody like that to represent me or call that person my leader. Not including the fact also that he's been bankrupt 6 times, right? Like that was one of the great things that one of Harris's best quotes during her speech was just the simple fact when she said, a lot of us don't have the opportunity to fail forward, the affirmative action of generational wealth, or however she put it. I thought that was a great line because yeah, most of us don't have. We were bankrupt 6 times. Either of us on this podcast or on this Zoom right now, none of us would be candidates for president. And so I think that that's a very I think I think it's BS. And I think there's a reason for that, and that's because it's not about policies or even showing what you could do. I've had job interviews, I think, where I was more critically judged than what Trump is right now. Mm-hmm. Because just based off of my track record, I think he has a terrible track record, but I think people are willing to forgive that based off of, it's like this anti-establishment, oh, stick it to the man type of thing. But Trump is like, I wouldn't vote for anybody just so that they could get away with doing illegal acts, And that's kind of how I look at the Trump support. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go on a whole tangent, but
no worries. No. So you want me to go into why I support Trump? Is that what I'm understanding correct, Cole?
Yeah, if you don't mind. And, really what I was, one of the things if you'd like to, because that would be a direct response to Mike. And then, I'll have, kind of a cannabis guided question for you.
Okay. So the main reasons I really support President Trump is because me personally, I have always wanted to see this country ran by someone with a business acumen as opposed to a career-based politician. Trump has been branding himself in such a way that he's an incredible marketer. I don't think anybody can deny that. And it amazes me how everybody previous to Trump ever running for president always wanted to be around him. This guy, he was with Michael Jackson every day of his trial. I've seen him speak with Reverend Jesse Jackson. I've seen Reverend Al Sharpton speak with him, and all these different people commend him and give him different accolades prior to him running for president. But yet, as soon as he runs for president, then all of a sudden he's a racist. I don't buy that type of argument or a talking point personally at all. Whatsoever. As far as the felony convictions, I think the American people all know that the whole thing was a total kangaroo setup from the beginning, and for especially for people in cannabis, it doesn't make any sense to me to not vote someone because of a felony. Most people in the cannabis world and that were in the cannabis world are felons and have been subject to adverse persecutorial individuals throughout the years. And so we all know how kangaroo courts can be run, and how you're basically guilty until proven innocent and not really given a free trial. And that is basically the same thing that Trump has received within all those convictions that you referenced earlier, Michael. In, in regards with Kamala Harris, some of the main reasons I do not support Kamala Harris is because, first of all, she's not a real candidate. She was never elected by the delegates to actually be a nominee. She was installed. And I don't understand why more Democrats don't have a problem when they claim that Trump is ruining democracy and all this, and yet the whole Democratic Party is ruining democracy because they're not following the procedures of how to do this. They wanted Joe Biden to go up and have a debate with Trump, and then did so terrible that they went and started to uninstall him as the president. I think that's crazy, and I think the American public, who all voted for Joe Biden to be their Democratic nominee, the Democratic Party, in my opinion, owes all of these people a big apology.
Can I?
This is.
I don't. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Please go ahead, Cole.
I was gonna ask because like this point, I've heard this one before, and like I think it's like valid in some ways because the point of the nominee, but my point, like replacing the nominee, but my thing is like they've done this in the past, right? Like with Bernie Sanders.
Hold on, they
or is that different?
And no, not. You know what? It is the exact same thing. And you know who this actually first happened? You would know exactly who the Democrats did this to before Bernie Sanders. They did it to Rod Blagojevich, who was the governor in Illinois. This was the first time politically that political stunt was done and executed, and it happened with Rod Blagojevich. Then they did it with the Clintons, did it with Bernie Sanders, and everybody wanted Bernie, and all the WikiLeaks emails that came out proved that the DNC and the Clintons all campaigned and colluded to remove Bernie Sanders and not give him the ability to be the nominee, that what the people wanted. And so the Democrats are a very corrupt party and organization in my mind. I just can't stand with that.
Yeah, I guess my like point in bringing that up was like it seems like the idea of picking a nominee and your point, like the foundation you're building your point on, like
it's called the installation. It's called the installation.
I guess what I'm saying is though, it's like it's just like either party could do that. So like my point is like, is that really illegal or whatever you were saying? Like I don't. I feel like it's just like
name a time that the Republicans have done that, Cole.
I mean, I guess my point is that like what's stopping them? Like I don't think there's a law stopping them. That's really like my point. You like, you know what I mean?
You know, I would say
I'm not even trying to like make a big deal about this one. I just honestly was curious about it.
I would say as far as like the whole delegate thing, like when the majority of people that were supportive of the Democrats and Joe Biden were asking for Joe Biden to step down before the debate, right? The majority of people that were voting against Trump were voting against Trump because they were simply voting against Trump. They did not want Joe Biden to run. So I think when he had a terrible debate and then he caught COVID afterwards, so they say, right? I think that was really his off-ramp, so to speak, of him being able to step out the way and just knowing how the rules actually work, because I did look it up, how the rules work when it happened, because it has happened in my lifetime, as far as I know, that the public voted for Biden to be the nominee. But the way that the Democratic rules work was that the delegates also vote, right, based off of the will of the voters. Now, the one thing is that because Harris was part of that original ticket, that's why, in their way, it kind of makes sense that they were able to switch them out in that way. And that's why the money also went to her as well, was because she was also already part of that ticket. So people voted for Biden, but they weren't voting only for Biden. They were voting for Biden Harris in the same way that they have Harris and Waltz and Trump Vance right now. So she's part of that ticket. She wasn't the top of the ticket at the time, But I think most people would agree, I'm sure, Jason, you would agree, that Biden maybe was not up to it at this point because of his age and his health or whatever. So maybe he wasn't the best nominee. So they swapped him out and they moved the second in line to the ticket to the top of the line on the ticket. To me, I think that that was probably the smartest move, and at least it was part of their rules, right? Because for sure, if it was against the rules, I'm sure by now the GOP would have filed all type of lawsuits like they threatened to do already. They all threatened that they were going to file these lawsuits, and I think his name is Mike Johnson, the head of the Congress. He was saying that he was going to do this and he was going to do that, and they haven't done it because they didn't break any rules. One last thing I would say about Trump being a racist is that when I say Trump is a racist, I'm not just saying that I think Trump is a racist, as Michael Malcolm saying that Trump is a racist. I'm saying Trump is a racist because the Nixon administration called Trump and his father racist when they found him guilty of racially discriminating and against their housing back in New York in the 70s. And I'm saying Trump is a racist because when he put the ad out against the Central Park Five, the black man that were falsely accused of rape, he went above and beyond and called for the death penalty. And even after they were exonerated by DNA, he never apologized. He never showed any type of remorse, right? Again, I could go on and everything else, but it's not like, oh, I think he's a racist. The Nixon department called it racism, and he was found guilty of that. Right. So again, you could say, oh, well, it's a kangaroo court. Was the Nixon administration, was that a kangaroo court in the 70s? Or is it 50 years later in 2024 when he was found guilty again of breaking the law? Is that now the kangaroo court? You see what I'm saying? Like the ball keeps getting moved about what is, and it's not all a lot of it is my personal opinion, but some of these things have been proven in the court of law.
Jason, I don't know if you're moving spots right now or you migrating, my friend.
Yeah, you know what? My internet keeps on breaking up right here, so I'm moving to a new part. So I apologize. Give me a second.
No,
Michael, I'm sorry. I missed everything that you said because it was
Oh
just
no,
all
I'll repeat it.
R2D2.
Hold on. I'll give you a chance so you can respond. Go ahead. Because I want to respond exactly to what he said. I think a lot of people are saying, I've heard that response as well, like, oh, well, whoever was around Trump, and I'm sure Jason knows this as well, like being out here in LA and in Southern California, just like New York, it's a lot of mingling, right? Take pictures with a lot of people who you may not agree with politically, but taking pictures with somebody and wanting that person to represent you on an international stage, I think is two different things.
Yeah. Did you get all rolled up, bro?
Actually, I got my right here. Yeah,
nice.
I haven't even. I want to be nice and sharp for you because I know you have some pointed questions, Cole.
Yeah, and we haven't even gotten into it yet. I'm glad though that we're like starting off this way because it's like it gives a little more insight into like again, it's like hard to have this conversation separate from this because the reason I started by saying that, like, you had a good response to the single subject voter, but the reason I responded to that is because I know that like you can't have this conversation and it only be about cannabis, right?
No, 100%.
So
yeah, the cannabis thing, that's the thing that I actually resent, that people think because I work in the cannabis industry or because I love the plant so much that somehow is going to make me a single issue voter. I'm not. I honestly, I was smoking weed when it was illegal as fuck, bro.
yeah.
I was walking around with packs a long time ago. Again, I'm not gonna let the government tell me like that's not what I'm voting on.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I feel you. And that's part of the problem, like
their weed stands, I could give a fuck.
yeah.
Honestly. Like that doesn't matter to me. I
You know.
actually we could definitely get into this too. Jason, can you hear us now?
Yes.
Okay, two things.
Yes. 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 I got you
I just
guys
want to
loud and
address
clear
two
now.
things that you said. Number one, about the racism thing, I was saying that I'm not just saying this. It's definitely my opinion that Trump is a racist, but the Nixon department found Trump and his father guilty of racial discriminations way back in the 70s. So he has a long track record of his racism. It's not just me. The Nixon department, which I don't think anybody would say was woke. The Nixon
Hmm.
department, the opposite of woke, but they found him and his father guilty, and they pled out to it too of racial discrimination way back in the 70s. So he has a long track record of that. And then again, as far as the business acumen, right? His business acumen, he's bankrupt 6 times, personal, and that doesn't even account for all his failed businesses, everything from the Trump steak to the Trump water to the Trump airline to the Trump, all his bankrupt casinos, his bankrupt. You wouldn't vote for anybody else that had not only been bankrupt personally that time, but had bankrupt so many businesses that many times.
But to that, but you vote regularly for career politicians who have actually zero business acumen and just fleece the American people all the time with their insider stock deals and whatnot, and are creating such high rapid inflation rates throughout the country that I mean, the American economy was booming under Trump. Everybody was getting money. Even the brokest people I know had money during Trump's presidency, and now everybody is hurting from rich people to poor people the most, and it's not right. It's not right that is happening.
Well, I would agree that money was flowing easier, but that's also the reason why people are hurting so much right now, right?
No, that's not. That's
all of that
ridiculous,
free
Michael.
money, all of
That's
that free
ridiculous.
money that was injected into the system. Like, I think, would you would agree that most of the policies that are set when presidents are in place, a lot of those policies and the effects of those policies are in the rears, right? Like, they don't sign a bill and then everything goes into action the second that they sign the bill, and then you automatically see what happens because of that, right?
Sometimes you do. It depends on the policy. Sometimes you do, sometimes they don't. And at the same time, sometimes they also have delayed start dates as to when those policies actually go into effect. And so I'm going to say that it's going to vary with a lot of things, because a lot of his economic policies got implemented immediately and there was immediate relief from. So I'm not. I'm not. I understand where you get there, and yes, that does happen, but it's not with every policy.
Immediate relief like PPP, right? PPP at the time was great for people because people were able to have a little money in their pocket. But what also happened with PPP was that there was a lot of extra money around, and it's just a simple,
So
just simple economics.
you're criticizing relief to the American people when basically the world closed down
No,
to
I think
making sure that people had food and could put bread on the table for their families.
I'm criticizing it. Yeah, I'm criticizing it. Yeah, and I benefited from it too, right? I mean, at the time I was a realtor, and it was the first time in our nation's history that realtors were able to file unemployment when they didn't close a deal. That never happened before. I benefited from that. I was grateful for that. But that
Mm-hmm.
was extra money injected into the system. And that extra money is what causes inflation, because when there's a whole lot of money out here in the system, the value of money decreases. It's just a
Well,
basic economics.
I think you can go into a lot of that is all really happened way more under the Biden administration, in my opinion. Not to mention, you have us giving 40 billion here, 80 billion there to Ukraine to fight this proxy war. And the fact that Trump got us into no new wars. Then you had the Biden the Biden administration with the craziest exit out of Afghanistan, on top of us getting us into a proxy war with the Ukraine and Russia, and also with Israel and Palestine right now.
Yeah, but with that exit from Afghanistan, that was something that Trump put in place.
There was no
Trump put that
new
exit in place.
wars. There was no new war started under Trump.
Yeah, but that
And
doesn't mean that
Trump, world leaders respected us. Now they
that's
just
definitely not true.
trample on us. Now they just trample all over us. That's the reality. But
World leaders,
let's bring this back. Let's bring this back into a little bit of cannabis policy. because the one of the main reasons is why I'm also not in favor of Kamala Harris as being our president is because I've worked alongside her, and she has prosecuted more people for cannabis while she was the district attorney in San Francisco, while she was the attorney general in California. And this hypocrisy that she is portraying, that she is some friend to cannabis and whatnot and wants to get this job done, is just totally ridiculous. She is a career-based politician. She has been arresting people for weed for a very, very, very long time. And I have witnessed it firsthand.
Well, for one,
And
she didn't arrest anybody for weed because she wasn't a police officer, right? She was a DA.
she prosecuted him. She
She
sure as hell
prosecuted,
prosecuted him.
which
She
is
her sure as
her
hell prosecuted, and that's basically who
her
really
job.
puts you in. That's really who puts you in jail. Yeah, cops will arrest you, but if you're not prosecuted, you're out within 72 hours.
Yeah, that's was literally her job,
Police
right?
detain.
Yeah, but sounds like she was doing her job, right?
Oh,
And
if you're gonna call that doing her job with a lot of unjust arrests, when we had a very vibrant medical program going on and people were still getting arrested that were card holders and things like that for this, then you know, I can't argue with you.
I mean, I'm just saying the law is the law,
The law
right?
is the law. Okay,
Law is the law, and I'm not going to fault her.
that's a funny one.
Well, I'm not going to fault her for someone who is a prosecutor for doing their job, right? And I think
Okay.
there's a lot of, like my uncle. I got a lot. I have two uncles in my family that were police officers, right? And so I didn't necessarily agree with all of the things that they stood for, right, as being police officers, but I respected the fact that they took some pride in trying to make society a more just place, upholding the laws, even if I didn't necessarily agree with everything. And again, as being like I said before, not a single issue voter, I don't necessarily agree with the fact that people were locked up, obviously, for cannabis and things like that, no matter what the amounts were, whether they were medical card holders or they were just trapping and sending shipments of boxes all over the country, all over the world. Like, I don't think any one person is better than another. But at the same time, I think about what happens in our communities, right? Whenever there's a unarmed black man or woman killed, right? The first thing that we talk about is how we need more representation in law enforcement. We need more black people in law enforcement. We need more women in law enforcement. So now that we have a black woman in law enforcement that did her job, according to you, did her job, right? Remember, she was twice elected DA in San Francisco. She was twice elected AG.
Do you know how she got her political start?
I know about Willie Brown and all that stuff like that, but again, twice elected. So anybody
You think that's a good role model for women?
That she dated a politician?
It was not dating. It was not dating, bro. It was not dating. It was not dating.
That's
all right.
Well, and yeah, you like.
I was in San Francisco at the time. I lived there. Okay.
I was going to ask
I'm very aware of the political landscape of what was going on.
What capacity, did you, just to kind of get it on her cannabis policy, sorry to cut you off, Mike, but like what capacity because I remember you telling me on the podcast, and I'll link that in the show notes as well, Jason, our episode together, you said that I can't remember because I smoke a lot and do a lot of these episodes, but you said that you worked, and you actually mentioned it earlier, you said you worked with Harris in the past. Can you talk about that so that we can kind of talk about the cannabis history and such with her?
Yes. So I was on her medical cannabis task force when she was a district attorney in San Francisco.
When was this again?
You're gonna have to Google.
Sorry,
when she was
after like
attorney.
96 though, because the medical program.
It was It was it was in the 2000s.
Okay, cool, gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's sweet. Anyways, though.
So I was on her medical cannabis task force, and she was not a big friend to medical cannabis or to the medical cannabis community at all. There were still people that were getting prosecuted, even when we would tell them that that these people are with us, these people are part of the medical side, they're suppliers, XYZ, whatever. Like it was still going on. Sharon Wu was the head of the narcotics prosecuting narcotics attorney, and Russ Giattini served right under her as basically like chief of staff, lead prosecutor over the city and county of San Francisco at that time. And they had all originally came from Alameda County, from Oakland's county, um, uh, prior to her being elected as the district attorney of San Francisco. And so I've witnessed this fake agenda, and the fact that she even has the nerve to say that she listened to Tupac while she was in college. Like, those timelines just don't even add up, and it's just, she's just so, you know what I mean.
Why can't she listen to Tupac?
I didn't say she didn't listen to Tupac. I'm saying that when she says that she listened in her college days to Tupac smoking weed, that's not real. You gotta look at that timeline, bro. Tupac didn't even come out then.
I don't know when she was in college, but
Yeah,
exactly,
either, but,
exactly.
But
yeah, I mean,
exactly.
Tupac had two different. I mean, was she listening to Brenda Had a Baby Tupac, or was she listening to West Coast Tupac? Like Tupac,
You have to look at the original show that she did. She says, I believe, the song that she was listening to, if I'm correct. But to me, either way, it doesn't matter. Either way, the timelines don't match up.
But can you what I was kind of asking about, was kind of like recapping the timeline of you were talking about how people were upset with her back in the day about what she was doing with cannabis. I want to do, because what I'm kind of wanting to do is start with Harris's record on cannabis, and we're gonna talk about that. And then I want to talk about Trump's record on cannabis.
She's the career-based politician. She will prosecute for cannabis, and this whole Schedule 3 thing that the Democrats are trying to push is just going to get more people locked up in jail, because Schedule 3 drugs you have to have a prescription for, first of all. Second of all, it cannot be sold, okay, in a dispensary. It can only be sold through a pharmacy. How many social equity applicants are going to be able to go through a DEA process and obtain a pharmacy license?
Well,
Jason,
all right,
you skipped ahead, man.
It can't be sold at all right now.
Yeah, you skipped ahead though. I was trying to ask you, like, again, I want to get to that, and I'm glad you brought up scheduling, but I was trying to ask, like, were people like, I'm just throwing out some names, like Dennis Perone. I'm thinking of like Californians were like, man, this Harris attorney, she's just like, was she that well known? Like, I'm trying to establish.
I don't understand what you mean by that. I'm a little confused by the question. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to establish like her record. You said that she's got this history, right? So and you said you had worked with her in the past. So I'm trying to establish like I'm kind of like giving you the space right now to say like, like where she started bad, because everybody talks about that. So I'm trying to
she started off bad from the beginning. Okay. Right. From the beginning. And you know what? And I still believe to this day that it's very possible that Kamala Harris has a vindictive feeling towards the medical cannabis community. And it is very possible, because Terrence was our guy. He was our guy in the DA. He was the most progressive DA that we had, and he was the sole reason that medical cannabis really was able to live and grow into what it is today, when it was such at an infancy state, because San Francisco is its own city and county. So when Kamala Harris came in, there was a whole bunch more prosecutions going on, because before, Terrence would have just stopped that dead in the water. Those would have never even happened, because we had an out of control narcotics department with Marty Halloran and I forget the other guy's name. I believe was Higgs, if I remember correctly. And there was a lot of people that were getting killed. Like there was a lot of bad things that were happening in San Francisco at that time. I couldn't tell you how many moms I've had come up to me telling me how their childs were killed by the San Francisco Police Department, and we're not just talking about just like one shot. We're talking like 25 shots. All right, there's no reason for that.
They was happening way before Harris. That's why the Black Panthers were founded in San Francisco and in the Bay Area, because
I'm speaking to my personal experience. To my personal experience.
Okay.
That all of these things happen millions of times. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, people have been walking forever. So, you know what I mean? Like,
okay. I'll say this about just some of her background, because I don't know. I admit, obviously I'm from Chicago. So I don't
Mhm.
know all of Harris's background. I wasn't out here back then, right? But I would say just if I'm thinking logically here, right, that if you are a prosecutor, a federal prosecutor in an elected position, you can't go on I'm sure in the early 90s there
She was
wasn't
never she was never a federal prosecutor.
in
She was a
I'm sorry,
district attorney
a
for
district. I'm sorry,
she was
district
a
attorney,
district attorney for the city and county of San Francisco, and she was the California state attorney
AG.
general.
Right. And
Yes,
when she was the AG, I'm sorry, when she was the DA of San Francisco, I'm sure that in the early 90s, or I'm sorry, late 90s, it was not the same type of cannabis didn't have the same type of support as it does now. So
it did. No, it
you
did. It
can't
did in San
run
Francisco. Hold
for
on,
a
no, 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 no,
political
no,
you can't
no, no,
run
no.
for a
San
political
Francisco.
I'll let you
No, no, no,
finish,
no, no, no.
Jason. I'll let you finish, Jason. You can
Okay,
respond to it when I get done. I just want to
go
make my
for it.
point is that you can't go against, you can't be a prosecutor and then be outwardly pro something that is federally illegal, right? That is not a smart way. And one of the things that I have heard Harris say multiple times is that she wanted to change a lot of the way the laws work from within the system, right? And so what that means is sometimes you may want to call it politics, but it's literally what it is when you're running for an office that is an elected position, that you have to play some politics, right? And so you can work from inside. The first thing you have to do is get elected. You have to be inside. So again, I'm not trying to excuse all of the people that were all the arrests that were made or anything like that, but it does make sense to me that maybe she wouldn't be as pro cannabis and early in her career as she would be now that the public opinion has changed nationwide. Right? Like we're in a very different climate today than we were in the late 90s when it comes to the plant. So it doesn't surprise me now that her views would change, as most people's views have changed on different things, right? A lot of people don't feel the same way they do about certain issues that they felt 20 years ago, or even at the beginning of their career. Case in point, right, is federal legalization, right? I'm
Hmm.
not necessarily for federal legalization because I think once federal legalization happens, all the big boys that can't touch cannabis right now will be able to touch cannabis, which will completely squash everybody, all the social equity people, all the people working to get in right now. Once Monsanto and Bear Industries and Dole and all these other people can start coming in, FedEx and UPS and Amazon, I don't think it's going to be as good as people think it is. So, but if you had asked me 6 years ago, what do I think about federal legalization? I'm like, man, it needs to be legalized. It needs to be completely legalized. Now that I'm in it, I don't necessarily think that same way. I think a little bit differently. So I would give them the same type of grace. Like your opinions might be able to change, but that's not the same as being a complete liar like Trump is, right? Trump is a complete liar. He's a complete con man. I believe like somebody that ran on building the wall and making Mexico pay for it and all this stuff and hasn't done any of that stuff, right? He's a con artist, right? So it's like, it's one thing to have an evolving opinion when you see public opinion and maybe you able to gain and learn from people that are your constituents. It's completely different from going whatever the wind blows and doing whatever you can do to just say what whoever's yelling in front of you, the people want to hear, you know. And that's why I said I think that it might not be the best for, again, it's somebody that is in the industry. It's hard to look at a prosecutor and say, oh, that's a good person and I want that person to represent me. I too have a lot of friends and family members that have been locked up for cannabis. I'm a social equity applicant. I got a record, right? I've been locked up for weed before. And so it's not like I'm like, oh, well, she's a prosecutor, so forget all of that. I mean, I'm just for completely ignoring the fact that she was a prosecutor. But I do think that there's a role to play. And for me, I would rather have a prosecutor who has worked for the people their whole life versus somebody that only looks out for themselves.
Well, so let me go back to the first thing that I was gonna address. You were talking about the public sentiment in the city and county of San Francisco at the time. Well, that is just totally ridiculous because in 1996, which was way before Kamala Harris's uh, uh, um, run or you know time as district attorney, 1996, medical cannabis passed by 78% of the voting population in San Francisco. Then we had another follow-up measure called Measure S, which was should the city and county of San Francisco explore cultivating cannabis on city property. And this was just a measure to measure public opinion in regards with this. And this passed, if my memory serves me correctly, by over 56%. Now, and that was a very big gauge to see how far the city and county could actually push medical cannabis to push it to a national level, because bringing in the city with that and cultivating on city land was going to be a big deal in regards with the push for destigmatizing around the plant. And so I have to totally push back on the fact that that any of that makes sense as far as a change in public opinion in regards with cannabis in San Francisco. That's totally ridiculous.
So you think that there's been no change since the 90s in the public sentiment on cannabis?
Not in San Francisco, no.
Okay. Well, and again, even if that be the case, that doesn't mean that she had to mentally be there at the time when she was running for office or had her job, right? Maybe she evolved with the
I just hear excuses for this bad behavior. That's all that I keep
again,
on hearing.
I would rather excuse that than a rapist. You know what I'm saying? It's like
there's no rape conviction.
Like, oh man, she locked up.
There's no rape conviction, bro. That's
It
fake
was.
news. No, there's not.
And then
there's
fined
not.
millions of dollars for lying about it. It's not the first.
There's no rape.
Well, he bragged about
ridiculous. It. That's ridiculous.
Grabbing, to me, if you grope a woman without her consent, you're a rapist. Right? Like you
I mean, there's a definition.
They call it a sexual assaulter. But
there's a definition for rape and there's a definition for sexual assault, and I'm going to stick to those definitions because the two are not the same, and both are not respectable in those words in those ways. So I totally agree with you on that part. But I'm
not trying to. I give Trump, if you can't tell, I give him no passes. Right?
It's all good.
Yeah,
it's all good.
He doesn't get to, because he doesn't do that for people, right? Well, again, when he's want to talk about Mexicans, he says they're rapists and
he was not talking about all Mexicans. That's ridiculous, bro. That's
what I'm
gaslighting.
saying. But Jason,
he's not talking about all Mexicans. He's talking about the coyotes and things like that are human trafficking these people across our border every day. That's what he's talking about. He's not talking about every single Mexican person. No, that he knows that there's a major exploitation that's going on.
African countries are shitholes, right? I'm talking about him speaking generalities.
Yeah.
He makes very general, wide statements. That's why I call him a rapist, right? Because when he's trying to make a point, he's not parsing his words. He's not worried about how it sounds, right? If you like Trump, let's talk like Trump is. I'm gonna talk about him just like he talks in generalities about everybody else, right? Bro is a rapist. He's a racist, and he's a con man. Now you could try to be like, oh, well, this and what he meant was that, and like, I don't do that with him, bro. Boom, rapist.
So
that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's TDS right there. But
we can just to keep it on cannabis, and I want to switch gears unless there's more space to add. Because again, I wanted to start off with Harris. I want to just plug this article that I found for people that are tuning in now or after the fact. It's by USA Today. The headline is Kamala Harris' stance on marijuana has certainly evolved. Here's what to know. And just at a glance, it looks like it starts with the federal thing, with rescheduling. But it talks about in 2019, apparently she introduced legislation to decriminalize marijuana. I think that was when she was maybe a senator. And then here's a part about the convictions in California. And then this is
I
just a what?
believe, Cole, to you saying this, I don't know if it's in this, but I also read, again, have not done all of my research on this, but I did read that she had less convictions than her, the people that were in her position before.
No, that's manufactured information.
I don't know on that, but here's some numbers. It says when Harris was San Francisco DA, she supported the legal use of medical marijuana. Is that true? But opposed a 2010 measure to legalize pot in California, according to the Los Angeles Times. So
Yep, that's true.
during her tenure, she oversaw the conviction of more than 1,900 people for weed violations, the Mercury News reported. Prosecutors on her staff convicted people on these charges at a rate higher than under her predecessor.
Okay.
However, most of the defendants were not incarcerated for low-level pot possession, according to the outlet. More than 2,000 people were incarcerated in California state prisons for marijuana and hashish-related offenses, while Harris was the state's attorney general. So, yeah, interesting. Interesting stuff. So anyways, anything else on, did we want to talk rescheduling before we switch to kind of Trump on cannabis? Because he's made statements on cannabis over the years, but now he just made a recent one. So again, in the spirit of what we did with Harris, we could do the same thing with Trump. But I just wanted to give space.
He has a bigger legislative record of accomplishments when it comes to cannabis as well.
We'll talk about that, but I want to give space. Anything else on Harris? Do you want to talk rescheduling real quick, or is that kind of something?
Yeah, we can go into reschedule. Let's go into rescheduling.
Okay. Anything on rescheduling?
So rescheduling is going to be a failed policy if implemented. Thank God they decided to have a hearing, install this thing out. Maybe possibly they realized what a train wreck it's actually going to be. Schedule 3 drugs can only be administered by a pharmacist. It would basically make it as well so that every single product on every single shelf throughout the entire country would be deemed a illicit product, because it would bring in the FDA. And the FDA would be a brand new organization, government agency to coming in and regulating on cannabis. And the FDA regulates everything by the molecule. The FDA already has drug preclusion on THC for Marinol, as well as CBD for Epidiolex. And they regulate everything by the compound. So therefore, any product that has CBD or THC in it would be regulated by them at that point in time. Not to mention, you also have the Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Act, and every single product on a dispensary shelf in the entire country would either be considered a food, drug, or cosmetic. And so that brings a whole host of other different types of labeling things and whatnot. And there's zero cannabis companies that are really going to have the money to push, more than 5 SKUs through a 15-year FDA study to make those products actually viable. There's not a way that they can be able to sell flower under a Schedule 3 type of marketplace, because they deal with strictly single compounds, and there's a big problem with that. And all these people that want to hope around and wish around that they're going to try to come to some fix once they do it, you guys are living in a fantasy world. That's not how government works.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say, 2 things. One, Cole, if you're doing any research in the background right now, can you look up one thing just about that last point we were talking about, Harris's record? I am curious to see, I did see that it said that she prosecuted people at a higher rate. Does that mean, though, that more people were arrested for cannabis-related crimes during her rate? Because that's what I believe that I saw, not necessarily about a conviction rate. Which is totally different things.
Really quick, just to your point, since I got it pulled up. I think it did follow up with saying that, however, most of the defendants were not incarcerated for low level pot possession. Is that what you were talking about?
Or? Well, no,
no, that's not what he's saying. He's asking, Cole, what he's asking, Cole, is if he's saying that Terrence Hallinan had more arrests for cannabis than what Kamala had as specific to cannabis under his tenure, which I'm not buying. And if if those were arrests, that would be an interesting thing because you would need to cross-reference it with the amount of convictions. Because as you already stated before in your Kamala argument, is that cops are the ones that arrest people, and as we both agreed that the district attorneys are the ones that prosecute them. So we would need to cross-reference those two facts to get that actual real number.
I believe that was a LPP article that I was reading because they had done some research on those. Only thing I'll say about the rescheduling though is what I said before, which is that people need to be very careful about what they ask for. And I know it's very easy to say, well, if this happens, like if they go to Schedule 3, then this is going to happen. But we already see carve-outs with cannabis being Schedule 1 right now. So the truth is, I'm not too sure what
There's no carve-out with Schedule 1.
There is.
No, there's not.
Dispensaries operate right
now.
No,
they're not. There's no carve out. That's not how that works.
Dispensaries,
that's a federal. No. That's not how that.
Right. I understand what you're saying, Jason, but what I'm saying is that dispensaries are operating all over the country right now with cannabis still being Schedule 1. So again,
agreed. But that's because there's a protocol in place that stops the DEA, which was the only enforcement agency that has governance over Schedule 1 drugs.
What was the protocol?
Okay.
Yeah. What was the program?
That's the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment. Congressman Rohrabacher is right inside actually working on his book right now. And so that is the federal appropriations bill that prohibits the DOJ and DEA from extrapolating federal funds to go after state licensed cannabis businesses.
Medical license, right?
Yes, but what you have to understand is that appropriations bills have to be written so broadly that they literally cannot expense any money. So when you get caught with a bag of flour in a plastic bag, it is automatically presumed by law enforcement that is purchased within state. So therefore, they can't expense any funds to investigate if something is medical or adult use. So therefore, that's how it works. That's how it works. So as it's written, it actually does cover adult use as well, which is why you still haven't seen raids in regards since those bills.
I was trying to make a silly Cole memo joke, Jason. It went right over your head.
Yeah, it's not. But the Cole memo is just a memo. It's a directive. It does nothing. It doesn't have any teeth. Everyone in the cannabis industry praises it like it's God's gift to cannabis. But all it is
some idiot named his show after it.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I think my point is mainly that when the talk about being it rescheduled to Schedule 3, we don't know what that finally would look like because
we do. It's very clear. You look at all the FDA on how they govern everything. That's not how it works unless they have something in place prior to that. That's how it's going to work. It's how the FDA governs. That's just plain and simple.
That's how they do. Be changed and rules can be changed.
That's not real.
With the rescheduling.
Jason,
I'm not saying that it will or that it would be in.
That's not reality.
I've heard
they'd have that already prepared already already in drafts, and that is not even a reality.
What do you think about the idea that when rescheduling comes out, that Attorney Garland finally issues his new Cole memo, like he promised all those years ago, alongside rescheduling? Because to your point, Jason. It would
be called the Garland memo, though.
Yeah, you're right. It would fuck my whole name up. But to your point, though, your very valid point, dispensaries would still be operating outside of that framework of rescheduling. So I think the Garland memo, like you say, would come alongside rescheduling. Do you think that is probably because then there'd be like a bifurcated approach?
And even if it's a memo, it means absolutely nothing. There's no legal bound. There's no punishment. It's just like, hey guys, make sure you make a full and complete stop at the stop sign. And how many people do what's called the California stop all the time? It's that.
Roll.
Yeah, exactly. So there's not going to be any limit to any type of enforcement. Schedule 3 is just drug war 2.0 all over again.
I think that's completely nonsense, only for the simple fact that the amount of these of lobbyists that these multi-billion-dollar companies already have, there's no way that if that they reschedule, then the government is going to start raiding dispensaries all over the country. Like, it's just
no. I didn't say the government was going to be raiding dispensaries. The enforcement is going to come in mailers from the FDA, telling people that they're out of compliance, and if not, they're going to get sued to death by the FDA, and they're going to get death by financial means.
Just think about
that's just what happens. That's how it works. That's
Just
how
think
it
about
works.
the administration that would do something like that, right? Because again, cannabis now is seen positive by the majority of the country, right? So
Look,
if
bro, it
you're
doesn't
in
matter what it
charge,
is. I'm just
then
telling you
go
how the
against.
words are written.
But
And
that,
how the
but
words are written is how it's going to end up happening and playing
things
out.
get rewritten all the time. That's the whole point
No,
of
they
what we're
don't.
saying.
That's
Of
not
course
how it
they
really
do.
works. No, they
Laws
don't. No,
change.
they don't.
They
Laws
just
do change,
over.
but things don't get
They
rewritten all
just
the time.
changed
It's not that simple.
Roe versus Wade, right? They
That
take
was a Supreme
away
Court
the same
decision.
stuff,
That's different.
right? That your boy put in place. You know what I'm saying? And my point is only that things can change all the time,
I
right?
mean,
So in the same way they can change it for take it off Schedule 1 and change to Schedule 3. Again, there's no you think that whatever you think has happened with Schedule 3, it's not like on taking it off the descheduling completely.
it's
It's going
better
to
if
make it
it
even
stayed
more
on the
favorable.
deschedule list. The only benefit the cannabis industry gets for moving it to Schedule 3 is the removal of 280E, and that's not even 100% certain. But everybody
Would be
that talks
fantastic.
every that would be great. But the reality of it is that that's not a fair trade off for what will ultimately happen under a Schedule 3 workout.
You're worried about pharmacies, and I'm worried about Amazon. You know, you're just worried about it's just a different player who's going to come in and swap up all the licenses and crush the little guys. I'm not worried about the drug industry.
I'm not into giving big pharma cannabis. That goes against everything that this movement was all about in the first place. That's the
Then it'll be
core.
Walmart.
That's a core fundamental. Then that's fine, and that's what it is.
How is that?
But to give it to big pharma after cannabis has been helping people, so many people get off of big pharma for the poison that they've done, and you want to give it to big pharma? That just sounds totally ridiculous to me.
Like I said, I don't see any. I see very little upside in either one. The 280E thing is interesting to me, but again, like you just said, I would have to see
There's no guarantee on. There's no guarantee
exactly.
on that.
Right.
I would need to see the final verbiage on that. But at the same time, if you just say that there's no guarantee, then there's
Because
also
you're not gonna.
no
Because if you can't get,
guarantee that they're
if you
going to
can't,
start sending letters from the FDA, the dispensaries, and so on.
that will happen. That will happen immediately, bro.
Well, how can
That
you
will
say
happen
one is a
immediately.
guarantee, but the other one isn't?
What's that?
How can you say
Because
one is a
because
guarantee and the other one isn't?
they would have already been working on framework to create that rule structure program or some type of an exemption or whatnot. They would have already had that framed out and be able to answer these questions. These people have absolutely zero plan when it comes to that. It's just like Kamala's website with her policies, totally blank.
But it'll change. Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily the case, just for the simple fact that I think both sides are probably trying to figure out how to do it. But again, there's lobbyists in place on both sides to just fighting against these things. So there's these multi-state operators have these publicly traded billion-dollar companies are spending a crazy amount of money to make sure that their empires don't crumble. So I found that very hard to believe that all of a sudden on either side is going
These
to
cannabis companies don't have enough
right.
money to prop up their businesses if their life's dependent on it. There's and the reality of it is the nail polish industry is far more politically astute than the cannabis industry and the amount of lobbying dollars that go into it every year. So you can't say that.
Well, I'm just saying, in a way, I can't say that one thing is going to happen. You can't say that another thing is going to happen because the truth is we don't know.
I can't say that.
You can assume.
You
can assume.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of interesting. It'd be interesting to see those lobbying dollars. You know what I mean? Like you were talking about, Jason. Because like I think from like Mike's standpoint, like when you watch like these hearings, like a lot of times you'll see somebody like Charlie Bachtell in the background, or one of their lobbyists, and so to Mike's point, they're definitely in Washington doing this, and like he said, I don't know.
I'll agree with the first part that they're definitely in Washington.
Okay, there you go. Yes, they haven't accomplished
They're
anything.
there.
I think is
Yeah,
your
they're spending
point,
a
right?
lot of money to influence.
I mean, I've been there. I've been a registered lobbyist for cannabis, so I totally get it. Like,
and that's why, and that's
I know exactly who's there, and I know exactly what's going on, and I know how effective everything is working out.
And so another point, that's why you see every single state is turning green right now, right? Kentucky just closed.
State ballot issues are not the same thing as lobbying for policy in Washington D.C. Those are apples and oranges. That comes from public sentiment across the country, which we do see. Public sentiment numbers are up on both sides, on Democratic sides and Republican sides, as well as independents.
That's why it's not going anywhere.
I never
So
said it was going anywhere.
So, I mean, just to wrap up rescheduling, I was just trying to say, like, I tend to like think, like Mike was just saying, that it would be hard to believe that there were just all these dispensaries would shut down with as much money and flex willpower they have. Like, Jason, do you think I'm being too optimistic? Like, again, when I put out that like prediction that we'll have rescheduling, and then again some sort of like follow up
Here's how
that
rescheduling will really play out. Okay, without a doubt. No matter, so let's just assume it can go one of two ways. It can get installed after the hearing after December 2nd, or it can not be installed at all. So obviously, if it's not installed at all, it stays the same. The status quo is what we have today. If it does go into that, still nothing will change, because immediately there'll be a whole number of lawsuits that are filed in regards with the whole procedural process with how this whole thing was done. It goes against all of the actual processes in place as far as what a DEA does to be able to go through these types of processes. It doesn't pass its 5-point muster test, because you can't make cannabis a single compound. You can make single compounds, but you can't make cannabis as a whole a single compound, because it's a whole bunch of compounds that create that. So this whole thing is totally flawed, and it's going to get caught up in a whole bunch of lawsuits, and nothing's going to change for years on end until we end up having a court decision in that. And so Schedule 3 is a total wash.
Yeah, I would need to see the final language before I make any educated decision. Comment.
sure. Well, so okay, I want to start to close out, but we gave a lot of space on Harris's record. I want to talk about Trump's record for a moment, because like, he has made statements over the years. I actually just watched one the other day where I think it was in the 2016 election, before the 2016 election, he said he supported because he was in Colorado at the time, the use of medical cannabis, but he had to like think about adult use cannabis or something to that effect. I can try to find the clip.
Well, we actually worked with him on that messaging and getting to that point back then. And you are correct, Cole. He did come out prior to his election as in his first term in favor of medical cannabis. Didn't know where he was on the adult use, but was for the medical use of it.
What was he like before then? Like, did he? Because I know in the past he had even.
Orange.
Am I wrong that he had voiced like support for legalization of all drugs at a certain point or something like that?
He has stated that the drug war is really just a war on the American people. It's destroys families, which is another one
of the that drug dealers need to get the death penalty.
He's talking about
that's a recent comment.
He's talking about fentanyl smugglers that are coming across our border, bro. Okay. That's what he's referencing. Okay, he's not talking about your low level criminal on the street or whatnot. He's talking about people that are smuggling this fentanyl in, coming from China to Mexico to here in the U.S. That's what he's talking about.
I noticed that Trump will say something very broad and general. That's why I like to speak in very broad and general terms when I talk about him. And then he lets the Trump supporters clean up his messes. Bro,
I don't need to clean up any mess. That's just what it is.
Boy for him, like, why are you carrying?
Oh, stop it, Cap.
He's a grown man. Let him make his point. You like, oh well, this is what he meant. He said that. Well, he didn't mean death penalty to all drug dealers, bro. He said drug dealers. He didn't say fentanyl dealers.
You're taking his words way out of context, bro. That's just totally ridiculous and doesn't even worth the time of even debating, because it's total just ridiculousness.
I'm just saying his words.
You know?
I can't find the clip on his medical marijuana thing, but I remember it. It was
he did come out back then.
But again, before that,
hold on. Let me hold on. Cole,
okay,
hold on.
Go ahead.
Let me go into what some of these accomplishments in regards with under his tendency. So first of all, you have the First Step Act, which is a criminal justice reform bill, which is a big thing that a lot of us were pushing for. So
I know somebody that worked on that. I know I give him credit for that.
Okay.
A lot of people do not like me to give him credit for that, but I actually know people that worked directly with him on that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that was a real thing. I know people that came home for that.
Yep, exactly. So First Step Act being number one. Number two, we also have he also called for a bill to get to his desk while he was president. He stood outside. He said, "Get a bill to my desk regarding the cannabis issue, and I will sign it." And that was in he was signaling to safe banking at the time. It had just passed the Senate recently, and the House, and Paul Ryan blocked it. And then again, 2 years later, Nancy Pelosi blocked it from going to a floor vote and being able to be passed during the time under Trump's tenure, because they didn't want to allow him to have a victory.
Wait. So just to be clear, Paul Ryan, a Republican, blocked
Yep.
it. So
He's a
Trump
rhino. He's a rhino Republican.
He did not
Republican
have
in name
control over
only.
his own party, correct?
I don't understand why you would use the word control like that. That just doesn't.
No, I'm just
people are
mean
people.
he was the leader of his party.
He was. Hey, just because you have different factions that are doing different things, bro. This just, you know what I mean. It's a big ship. It's a big ship. All right, but so I like how you want to poke at that, and I criticize Paul Ryan. Hold on, I criticize. Let me. I did, because I'm speaking the truth of what was real in history.
Okay.
And so I told Paul Ryan, because Paul Ryan is a hypocrite, because he prior to that, he had came in favor of cannabis prior to that. And so he's a big, in the same boat, as far as I'm concerned, as Nancy Pelosi, who also killed it, but is from San Francisco, the birthplace of medical cannabis, and is yet going against her constituency for political reasons. And that's why we don't have safe banking in place right now, is because of that, because Trump would have signed it. Then you also have the 2018 Farm Bill, which actually really legalized cannabis all the way, even though everybody wants to play by this 0.3 THC percentage, because in the Controlled Substances Act, for the definition of hemp, it is cannabis sativa L, which is the same definition for marijuana.
And
it's the exact same thing.
And Jason, you being in the cannabis industry, do you think that has been good for our industry?
I think yes. Why isn't it? More people are getting access and whatnot. Now, are there a lot of bad things that are happening and that I don't agree with? Yes, 100%. But anything that brings more people access, I'm with that.
Do you
and
think
a lot
the
of
price
people are
has
getting
gone
access.
up or going down? Are businesses thriving because of that hemp bill, you think?
Hemp industry is doing just fine.
But
hemp industry is doing just fine. Cannabis, no, because there's too much local control, government regulation, and hampered down by all of these markets. Way too much government taxation and whatnot. Like, I could go on for days and days on this, and you know about it. You're an operator. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking. That's why I asked.
Exactly.
I think it's been terrible.
So I agree with you on that, but that's a state thing. That's not a federal government thing.
Well, you just said that he put that in law. He
did. And do you know how many cannabis? Hold on. Do you know how many actual cannabis companies are benefiting because they have the hemp side to operate their brand with right now, that are actually able to pay their bills because of that? So that's why, yes, I do say that that's a good thing, because a lot of the actual cannabis companies are only able to make ends meet because of that fuel.
Well, and
right there that's coming in from that.
Announced that they were doing or they might do THCA. Is that what I think I saw it on High at 9, Jason? Am I wrong?
Yes. They are getting ready to get into the hemp space. They're going to turn on some greenhouses on their property, or at least that's what the article had stated. And one other big Trump accomplishment that a lot of people aren't aware of, and we're just going to keep on counting them down. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we're on the favorite playlist, Michael.
Please.
Yeah.
Please. I see a whole lot of holes in these sales, but
literally Trump's greatest hits. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Yeah. And so the other one was USMCA, which was NAFTA 2.0. THC is actually included in NAFTA 2.0 as an export out of the United States. And so yes, Trump has done far more legislatively than Kamala Harris could ever hope to accomplish in her record when it comes to sensible cannabis policy. And I'll leave it at that.
Trump was the president, so he had the opportunity to do something on a national scale.
I mean, she was the attorney general. She had the opportunity to prosecute the case or not prosecute the case. She was the district attorney. She was the district attorney and the attorney general. She was both.
Mm-hmm.
She could have turned those cases down and said, no, you know what, we're not going to prosecute this.
Right.
She didn't.
But again.
But she didn't.
but again, she also did not do all, it wasn't all gloom and doom either. And then, like I said, one of the main things that you give him as an accomplishment, the farm bill, in my opinion, as an operator, has not been great for our industry, because we all know about all the
I mean, that's
loopholes in the system.
that's your opinion, and you're entitled to it. But I think for overall, for all the people that are able to provide a living for their family based off of that are very thankful for that. And I think that is a lot larger number than the demographic that you're referencing.
Well, no, I mean, I think most of the people that got into the cannabis space did it to sell cannabis, not to sell hemp. I think a lot of the hemp operators, and Cole, we did a podcast before with some hemp operators that did not necessarily like me putting it this way, but I'm very much a straight shooter because we don't have a lot of time on these lives. I think a lot of these people are hanger-oners. A lot of these people see opportunity and making money, and that's why they're in the space. Whereas people like yourself, Jason, right, were ahead of the curve and wanted to provide actual relief to people. There are other people out here that are looking for loopholes to say that they're in the industry in a way to make a quick buck. And I don't want to label all hemp people that, but I see a lot of that being the case, whereas it's not as many people that were willing to play in the game, in the industry, I should say, when it wasn't so widely accepted or government approved, right? Some people stuck their neck out way before it was convenient for them to do so, right? So I don't necessarily have the highest opinion of the hemp only people. I think there's a lot of people here trying to.
I think that's a fair criticism, Michael. I think that's a fair criticism. But we're talking
Do
about
you think a good
economic stimulus.
do you think a
Yeah,
good
but everything is about
analogy,
money. Everything
Mike?
is not about money because we don't have a healthy industry. And I think that's a bigger issue right now.
Well, then we need to start working on this legislature and get some instant tax relief. But the problem is the SEIU and a couple of these other special interest groups keep on hampering any type of progress on any type of tax relief, and it's just become this crazy government slush fund of all of our tax revenue that we're really losing all of our profits to. And so that's the onerous is on the state of California in regards to the references that you're making now, Michael.
That's why we
Do you
need
think
Harris.
an accurate analogy to the hemp thing, just to close the loop on that, because you were talking dirty to me, Jason. I like the hemp. I love hemp. I'm actually more on, like, I view the lens through your eyes, Jason.
I
I feel
mean,
like
I
I
mean,
fall more on. But look, can I ask you, because both of you are cannabis retailers in the state of
I'm not a retailer.
or sorry, but you're licensed, I mean to say, in some form or another,
Mhm.
in the state of California. Do you view, is it an accurate analogy of what hemp has done, like taxi medallions versus Uber? Do you
I
feel
think that's
like
yeah. I
where it's
think
like you guys
I
had
get
your taxi medallions in a
yeah,
way,
yeah.
and then hemp
I think
came
that's a
in,
fair.
and like it's
I
everybody's
think that's
driving
fair.
each other, but but this
I
group
think
came
that's
in
fair,
with a
but
lot looser regulations.
I
Yeah.
think that's only fair in a certain number of states. I think states with that have more mature markets, um, uh, I don't think that really affects it as much. Like I don't think a lot of people that have always bought cannabis in California are all of a sudden going and buying Delta 8 products just because they see them in a gas station. I'm not
I think
really
more like the
I don't
THCA, you know.
I don't even think more people are buying THCA in regards with that. That's happening in a lot of markets that are less less mature than a California market or even Oregon or Washington State. Any of those states that's happening out more east and south for the most part.
Which is another reason why, again, I do not think that that was such an accomplishment, because I think now they put that farm bill in place where now hemp is freely flowing around the country, but we don't have the same rules and regulations in place to make sure that it's safe product to be sold. And so
It's,
now what we see, and
no,
this is something that
I
we
think
talked
that's a
about
fair.
before.
I think that's a
Let me just
fair.
finish, Jason. Let me just
That's a
finish
fair
my point.
criticism.
Let me just just want to finish my point. I think that now it actually gives people who are anti-cannabis an opportunity to criticize the plant more because there's less regulation around it. And so now you got stuff coming from everywhere. There's no proper testing of it. And now people are getting sick. And you see these news reports about how somebody was sick and the kids ate the gummies. And Cole and I have talked about this on a previous podcast. The first thing I think was, well, what was that? Was that something that somebody bought from a licensed dispensary? Was that
Mm-hmm.
something somebody bought from a gas station? Right? Was that something that somebody bought off the streets? You really don't know what you're getting
You
right
have
now.
no clue.
Now there's a mix.
You're very true. But a lot of that reason is because of this government overtaxation that is not allowing for a fair marketplace to actually happen in regards to this. And so that I blame everything on the government and their government policy
Well,
when
that
it
was
comes to
Trump's
that.
policy.
That's not Trump's policy to overtax cannabis at every state level. That's not a Trump
I'm talking about the
policy.
farm
That's
bill.
not reality. That was not a Trump policy. Trump got the credit. He signed the bill, yes,
You
but
just
Trump
gave
did
him
not
credit
craft.
for it.
No, I get what you're
Trump
saying,
did not
Jason.
Trump did not craft that policy. That would be a Mitch McConnell,
Mike.
more of a bill. We call it marijuana Mitch.
Hold on a second, Jason. I think I see where the cross thread is happening. Jason is saying that these state marijuana programs are not a Trump policy, that the Farm Bill
Correct.
is.
Right.
Correct.
I'm saying
Correct.
the farm bill is a failure.
And I'm saying the Farm Bill is a major success.
Because you're saying in contrast to the state legal cannabis systems.
Correct.
I mean, it is
Correct.
crazy that like the big
It
fucking
allows for a
operators
free and
now are
open
jumping
market.
in. The big operators like Curaleaf and all these motherfuckers are jumping in. You know?
But they're opportunities. That doesn't mean it's the business.
Curaleaf's been in the hemp space for a long time. They were one of the first companies that got a cease and desist letter from the FDA when they were producing CBD tinctures under Select. So they're very well at that, and that's how I know too. Schedule 3 is going to be such a failure because I've already seen how this movie ends.
What do you mean by that?
Means I already saw what happened with all those letters that went out by the FDA already to a number of different hemp companies.
To those big companies.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think their product is trash. So I don't think.
I mean, that's not what we're debating, though.
Yeah, I think. Well, my point is only that I think they're opportunists. So I don't give them credit for dropping on a bandwagon and making more money for their corporate shareholders. Right, it's a publicly traded company. Like a big deal that they found another way to turn a buck. I don't think that's.
I get your point. I guess, and that is a solid point. Like as far as those big companies, because they are opportunists, and like Jason said, that Curaleaf's been kind of rolling those dice for a while. It sounds like. My point really was I was trying to make a point about, since it was a debate. Jason was pointing out that the state-based programs seems like the ones that are like punitive.
Exactly.
Really high taxes and everything.
Exactly.
I was saying that I was trying to make the point that it seems like all these different operators, big and small, are saying like, fuck it, why don't we just do hemp?
Exactly.
Even
Why
Glass
not?
House,
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I don't know about Glass House. I think Glass House was already, isn't it allegedly? Weren't they already backdooring all their products, so now they can do it legally? Allegedly, like I say, I don't know. I do not know about California things. So if people from California are tuning in right now, I might just.
I can tell you what you can head over to High at Night News and search those videos, and you will find a whole host of information on all of those topics.
Sweet.
Yeah. I can't speak on what other operators do unless I've seen it with my own eyes. I know they got some booth. That's what I know. That's what I've seen. That shit was trash. I saw that with my own eyes. Lots of spider mites, bro. Crazy amounts of mold. That's what I've seen. I walked that I can speak on. I don't know about what they do with the packs.
Yeah. Well, anything I feel like we've got kind of any other thoughts on hemp or just Trump's cannabis legacy at all before we close? I know we've been going for a bit. So
Trump got a lot more wins when it comes to cannabis policy, and he just came out, another big win. He just came out and endorsed Amendment 3, regardless of what you think of the bill, because of whatever. He is saying that he supports it, and he's mainly saying that he supports it from a criminal justice angle, Cole.
Yeah,
he's saying that he doesn't believe that people should be going to jail.
I feel like what he said, though, I agree with most of what you said, Jason. I feel like what he said, though, is that it's going to happen. If you read that,
he's a realist. He's a realist. He's seen and he knows that more states are coming up with different ballot measures and putting this through. And we're already at 38 states that have some form of regulated cannabis on the books, whether that's medical and adult use. And so, you know what I mean? Like you have to be blind not to see that.
What sucks about his stance, though? I I like that he did make some comment on it. I don't think he went as far as to endorse it. Like I said, he was saying it's gonna happen. Like you said, maybe that's him being a realist. I hate that he specifically said there has to be like a restriction on public
I
consumption. It's like if there's gonna be one, I think it should be as close to cigarettes. Because I
well,
agree, people should not be able to smoke everywhere, but to criminalize it, like it should be like cigarettes. That's my thing.
I'm fine. I'm fine with it. Like cigarettes, I have no problem.
That's how it is
No
in
problem with
California,
that.
right?
But yeah, but I well no. The real
New York.
reality is that there's not enough enforcement to enforce on that. We have like real crime out here. All right, New York, you have real
Yeah.
crime out there.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're just having cops just go and bust people for smoking weed on a corner, that just doesn't make sense right now with what the crime rates are at.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just think,
Not to
like I say,
mention,
if you're
there's
doing
a
it like a
major
cigarette,
lack.
it's like,
Not to mention, there's a major lack in police morale due to defund the police and everything, to where a lot of police don't even want to police anymore
Yeah.
because
Imagine.
of the sentiment from the general public.
Well, imagine if you're the president, the leader of the country, talking about how the FBI is crooked and the CIA, the people that find the dirt on
They
you and
are.
dirt. Well,
They
but
are.
okay, so you can't just say defund the police is demoralizing, but the
Defund the
FBI as
police
crooked
is
is not.
demoralizing.
But you
I
see
just
how
will.
like you can fit
There's evidence
if
of it
it's
to show the
against
crookedness.
Trump,
There's
then
evidence to show the crookedness.
okay, well
Sorry.
then it's evidence that maybe the police funding needs to be decreased or something like that. But
Yeah.
It has
just
nothing to
to make
do
a
with the
point.
funding. It has to do with a re-education. I'm all for a re-education and training and educating and putting dollars into into that in regards to how to deal with cannabis.
Well, Cole, to your original question, just a simple about as far as Trump and his stances, right?
Yeah.
The man lies about everything, right? He's
Yeah.
taking opposite views on every issue, right? And so when it comes to anything he says, whether it is taxes or economics or cannabis, right? He's going to do everything he says, just like he was going to build the wall and make Mexico pay for it, right? That was literally, he had people screaming that at everything. He didn't do it. He is a liar.
He did build the wall. He did build the wall.
He built a partial wall. There were barriers.
There's
already.
wall. There's lots of wall up. There's lots
Hey,
of
but
wall
one
up.
thing, he definitely didn't make Mexico pay for it, right? He is a scammer. He is a scammer, and he will say
That
anything
is not
to
a
get
scam.
elected. The
That is
man
not
is
a
just a
scam.
liar. He's a con man.
So
Not a
I
scam.
just want to get it back to the point. It's cool, like
Jason
that.
must have invested in his. Did you invest in the Trump stakes? Just because you look like you,
Bro,
like
I've always been a big Trump supporter. Ever as soon as he announced he was running for president, I was 100% Trump
that
supporter.
gold escalator.
I can tell you, I was at the Prop 64 party in LA on election night, and man, I'll tell you what, Prop 64 passed that same night, and then all of a sudden the election came around to the presidency, and and there was like maybe one other person that was the only person clapping. Everybody else was all weeping and crying, and I was just like, "What's the matter with you guys? Like, this is the best thing that we could have had. This is the best thing that we could have had for cannabis out of the choices that we had. And Trump again is the best choice that we have when it comes to cannabis in this election.
People don't want to support racists. I think
I don't believe that he's a racist. That's fake news to me.
Well, it's easy for you to say, Jason. I'm not gonna like.
No,
point
it's
out
not.
obvious.
It's not. No, it's not.
Yeah,
you're totally misracing me right now.
No, I'm not misracing.
100%.
I'm saying
you are.
as a black man, there may be things that I see that maybe you don't, right? But I can tell you there's a reason why the majority of black people are not voting for Trump, right? And it's the reason why the majority of people of color think
but he also has higher rates of the African American vote than any other candidate.
That's a low bar when you're at 20%, bro. It's a very low.
That's not a low bar. He's the only person that's been able to raise the bar.
Yeah, so but that's a very low bar. Again,
that's
like
huge.
Said, somebody that panders, that openly panders to black people is not a sign that they're not a racist, right?
I'm not buying all that craziness.
I'm sure, but that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna just let you know, again, as the black representative on this call right now, there's a reason why people overwhelmingly think that Trump is wasted. Not just black people either. You know, I hear this a lot from
I
other
know, I know, I know, tons of
all
tons,
over the
tons of
world,
black supporters, and
not
that's
just
I'm just
not
not
just
buying that.
Americans either. There are people all over the world, right? I've been all over the world before
When
Trump.
it comes to elections, I don't care what other people around the world think. I care what Americans think.
Well, I tell you something that someone told me. I'll never forget this. I was in Egypt on a boat, and there was an
Uh huh.
old white man that came up to me, and he asked me. This was in 2016, right before the election. This was October 2016, and he asked me, what is going on in our country, right? And I said to him, I said, "Oh, Trump." I said, I blew it off. I said, "Oh, it's nothing you need to worry about." And he told me, he said, "Listen to me." He looked at me as very, very serious face, and he said, he was from Germany. He was an old German, I guess. And he said when Hitler was running, people did not take him seriously. People blew it off and thought that he was just a crazy man who talked funny and talked very
If
energetically.
you're
And
trying to say that Trump is
come on.
a Hitler, bro, that's just
No,
totally
what I'm
ridiculous.
saying is that the old man told me to take it seriously and to not blow it off and to vote. That's what he told me. He didn't say that Trump
Nice.
was Hitler or that he was racist. What he told me was not to discount him, right? And that's something I would never forget because again, number one, he taught me that people are looking at what we do and also to take it seriously, right? And not to just to say, oh, he's just talking how he talks, right? People that have lived through it before know better. And that's all. That's my point on that. So trust me when I tell you, Jason, if the man is racist, if we saying the man is racist,
He's not racist. That's
I want to
ridiculous.
just let's close that out on. I just want to say that it's crazy how the times have changed. That he's basically again. I don't see it as a direct endorsement of Amendment 3, but he's recognizing the will of the people, and he's saying that
It's a
cannabis
direct endorsement.
legalization is going to happen.
He's
And but
saying that
I
no one should be arrested for weed, Cole. How is that a
he
direct
didn't say that.
hold
non-endorsement?
on, hold on.
He
I'm
said he
Yes,
said
just
he
he
was going to
did.
build the wall and make Mexico pay for it.
No,
well,
no, no, no,
That's
no.
what he
That's not what
actually
he said.
said.
No,
And
no,
he
that's
made
not what
you
that.
camp
No,
for it.
we're talking about the truth that he released on
He
Saturday. That's
said
what
he's
we're
gonna make
referencing.
America great
yeah,
again, and then
Jason.
he was
He
president.
is.
Now he said he gonna make it great again, again.
He is. I can't wait. I can't
You
wait till
know
November.
what I'm saying?
I guess I'll drop the debate on whether or not it's an endorsement. My point that I just wanted to say is the time of I feel like it's a mark of the
Even
times.
Kim Rivers came out with a tweet stating that thanking the president for
Well, I
his
mean, yeah, they
endorsement of the
can
measure.
think it.
This past
Yeah.
week, he said that he was going to vote against an abortion amendment in California, and now he reversed that. That was just this week. That was this
All
week.
I'm trying to
He
say is
reversed
that he
his
did not
stand.
say the words, I am going to vote for Amendment 3. He said it's going to happen. He never said, that's all I'm trying to say.
He
That's all.
reversed his stance on an amendment, something that he's going to vote on. He reversed his stance this week.
Right.
This week, he completely did a 180 on it. So again, to say that you believe anything the man says is you just want to believe something. He gives you no reason to support.
No. It's the other side is so much worse.
Yeah, I believe in
Yeah.
it too.
Well, so I'm just trying to again, so again, I tried to get over that hump. I was just trying to say that it'd be crazy if we could get him to agree, if we could get the general public to agree
Trump's
that
going to vote yes
smoking
on Amendment
outside.
3.
Okay, that's fine. All I'm trying to say
That's
is
not
the
what he said
smoking
yesterday.
outside part. I'm just trying to say that I hate that it still seems like the conversation about cannabis is like it should be legal, guys. It should be legal, but it stinks
No.
and you should go to jail if you do it outside. Like I hate
Trump,
that's or
Trump
something.
admittedly, according to him, has never had a drink before.
No, but
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
I'm just
That's true. His dad his dad passed
I
from
hate that I'm just
alcoholism.
saying it
Brother,
seems
I
like the
thought it was
thing
his
that's
Yeah,
brother.
holding
brother. Yeah, brother.
cannabis.
Sorry. Yes.
The thing that is holding
I read
cannabis
up on Trump.
legalization back is its smell. It seems like all the time. That's the only thing
Well,
nowadays
he's
people
just.
have to say
I
that's
think.
bad about it is the smell.
Well,
You know,
I understand. I understand. I
you
understand
get my point.
political. Yeah. I think that was like a toss soft that he did for Ron DeSantis because of the campaign against Amendment 3 that he's been running. I believe that was a little lodge toward him to show that he does support that. Even though this is going to go through, we do want to have sensible regulations in place to keep the quality of the neighborhood intact.
Yeah, again, Jason, you give him so much grace, all right? And
I just speak truth, bro.
If you gave Kamala a quarter of the grace you gave Trump, bro, this would be a no question type of thing, right? It would be very simple. Oh, well, he meant this and he meant that. You explain for him more than some of his own surrogates, right? That are on TV every day. You got every explanation in your bag about why what he said, he meant this, or he said it, but he really meant this, or he said that, but he really meant this. Do you really want to have to do that for the rest of the next 4 years at least? Right?
To Jason,
oh, bro, I can't wait till he's the president again. I'm so excited right now.
Jason, to your point, I know that DeSantis has been, and it's crazy. So they've been talking about odor. Just again, before we close, they've been talking about odor. The crazy thing, dude, and this part I think they're being so misleading on the fact that they're criticizing Amendment 3 on home grow, which is speaking to my heart. I'm like, holy shit. Ron DeSantis's office is saying that home grow should be a part of legalization, and it's not. I'm like,
that's
wow.
a great place for him to be in. I'm
like, wow.
I'm super in favor of that.
I don't believe him. That's my point. He's
already stated it. So now it's all about the will of the people holding him accountable for his statement. So because after all, he's an elected official, he's beholden to his constituent base.
Staffer did, I think.
That's him saying it. That's him saying it. Just because the staffer said it, those are approved messages.
Fair.
Yeah.
Anyways,
somebody hold Trump accountable for anything that he said.
I wanted to.
Trump holds himself accountable.
How? He just flip flopped this week.
You can't call it evolution a flip flop.
In a week when they said that he was going to lose his support. When all the
I don't even know what you're talking about.
When he said that he was,
I think he's talking about Amendment 4 now.
Thank you, Paul, because I don't know the amendment numbers, amendment numbers, but yeah.
What's Amendment 4?
I think that's the choice ballot in Florida.
Well, for Trump's position, from my understanding, has always been that he believes that it should be in the rare circumstances and whatnot, and there shouldn't be anything past 15 weeks.
Right.
And so that's always been my understanding of his position in regards on abortion.
Jason, what it is I believe, and Cole, you can correct me, I believe Florida passed a 6-week ban, something like that. And so now they're voting to uphold that ban. And Trump came out and said that he was against a 6-week ban because he thought that the women needed more time. When he came out and he said he was going to vote against that. And then when he said that, there was a big uproar in the party. The evangelicals came out and said that they were hugely disappointed in him. And so now he said that he's going to vote for it. That literally just happened this week.
Oh no, I haven't seen any of this stuff. So I can't. No, I really can't comment. I already told you what I know his position on that issue is, and I haven't seen anything deviate from that. So
yeah, send that to him when you get a chance, Cole. My only point is that the man flip flops. Like, it's not an evolution. It happened within a week, right? He came out and said what he thought. We're
not here to debate the whole abortion issue. Like that's a whole nother episode.
Well, I'm anti-Trump, so I'm a debate anything, like even his character on. Oh, you just got to go.
We all know. Hey, just so you know, Mike. When we see each other next time, I have a bottle. I'm going to give you this bottle that I have full of red pills, so that way we can fix your TDS syndrome.
Well, Jason,
no red pills. No Jason, I need blue pills. Blue pills only. No red pills.
Jason and Mike, I want to thank you both for doing this. It was, it was fun. We're fastly approaching that election. I can't tell who you're going to vote for this fall, so I won't guess. I'm just joking. Anyways, though, I seriously thank you for your time this evening, and I want to give you both the space to plug if you want to plug your social media and stuff. Jason, were you about to say something?
Oh no, I was just going to say, whatever you do, make sure that you vote, and also everybody watching, happy Labor Day.
Yeah, happy Labor Day. Yeah, thank you for joining me on Labor Day. I'm displaying Mike Malcolm's Instagram right now. Mike G to God on Instagram.
Thank you. And real quick, I just want to say shout out to my homie Sergio that gave me this really dope hemp hat. This is all made out of 100% hemp cloth. His brand is Joanna Mama Edibles, Joanna Mama Delights. It's actually one of my students, City Colleges of Chicago is one of my students.
Nice.
And this is one of his products that he gifted me last time I was in Chicago. So shout out to him. This is an amazing hat. I love it. And this is all hemp. And vote blue.
Well, so again, I want to make sure, thank you for plugging that, a local person. We always want to support local, and I want to make sure that everybody heard it loud and clear. Hi@9news.com. Jason Beck, I want to give you the space before we close, as well.
Yeah, no worries. Jason Beck, thehighestrepublican.com, as well as hi@9news.com. Make sure you check us out on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram at Hi@9news. We're live every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast, and everything that you need to know to grow, develop, and pivot in the ever-changing cannabis industry. So make sure you subscribe today. And thank you, Cole, for having me on. And my personals are all at Jason Beck 420, Instagram, Twitter, all of that good stuff.
Hell yeah.
Hey, can I say one last thing, Cole?
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
all I can say too. I just want to make it clear too that I don't consider myself a Democrat. I'm obviously not a Republican. I'm so independent. My mom is around here. She would tell you when she asked me, was I independent? I don't even want to be grouped in as an independent, right? I'm very much my own. I'm a party of one, right? So I don't want anything to be taken as so pro-Democrats, anything like this. I really truly believe we need to get past Trump so that we can focus more on issues and stop talking less about what's the definition of rape or what's the definition of sexual assault or anything like that. Like, we need to actually be worried about issues and figure out better ways to work together versus like letting an orange man come between our country.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, if we don't have Trump, we may not have a country anymore, because the Democrats want to turn this into a communist state. We're not going to have the ability to have those type of choices. It'll be a similar dictatorship to China.
And yet only one group of supporters has actually stormed the Capitol, right? And it wasn't Biden. When Hillary Clinton lost, her supporters did not storm the Capitol with pussy hats on.
But
right?
but their supporters have destroyed a number of different cities across the United States.
Yeah, during Trump's reign, the law and order dude, the guy that was all about law and order, last time he was in charge, you couldn't go out your house, and the entire country rioted over a weekend, right? That was when Trump was in office.
All right. Well,
crazy.
I think we're gonna.
TDS is alive and well, my friends, and it's live right here on the Cole Memo.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. I'll be able to
Yes.
use that as a soundbite. And
Yeah.
folks, I'm just closing out with a reminder that my upcoming mini documentary, we're going to be streaming at Blue Island in Chicagoland, Blue Island, Illinois, to be specific. It's a Blue Island Beer Company. You can come, you can smoke, you can drink, you can have a good time. Seating is limited. It's on September 18th. It's in the evening. We're going to start around 5:30. The show time is just a little bit under an hour, and I'd love to see you come out afterwards. We're going to do a little panel, smoke session, all that stuff. Come out and
should really come to Chicago for that. I'm gonna look at my calendar.
Hell yeah,
and
dude.
Cole,
go ahead.
Make sure don't forget to vote, but most importantly, vote for Trump.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, Jason, Mike, thank you both for joining me.
Don't do that. And smoke crotches. At the end, smoke some crotches too. Yeah, by the way.
Yeah, I'll smoke some cranja.
I got a pack for you, Jay.
Amazing. Can't wait.
All right. Well, we're going to close it out. For our listeners that are still here, Jason and Mike, you don't have to stay for this, but this is just a little peek at my upcoming mini documentary. So,
beginning January 1st, 2020, the recreational use of cannabis will be legal in the state of Illinois.
Available to stream now, my mini doc dives into the history of Illinois legalization, starting with
January 1st. What should we expect? The biggest thing that we need people to understand is that January 1, in terms of the criminal justice system here in this state, is the end of prohibition.
See how Illinois missed its chance at real cannabis reform with key failures, including the fact that
the program includes regulation on possession limits.
So people can still be arrested for possession.
And I want to highlight that in its first year of legalized recreational marijuana in the state of Illinois, they arrested 3 times as many black people for possession than any other race.
We've run into so much cannabis, we've run out of places to put it.
I've represented people and taken their cases through the court system who got charged with more serious crimes only because the police said that they smelled cannabis. And not because the police said you have illegal cannabis, or not because you have too much cannabis, or not because you're high on cannabis, but because I can smell it and that's it.
Attorney goes, he understands that he can't be smoking and his cannabis flower shouldn't be open. And I was like, I'd like to say for the record that I was not smoking and my flower was not open.
So that's where we're at right now in Illinois, and I hope it changes.
start watching now at colememo.com/minidoc. So you can watch it now at colememo.com/minidoc if you want to. I'm, asking just for a fair $15 if you want to see it now, or if you want to see it at Blue Island, you'll see my latest cut, which is just a little bit longer than what you'd see on Patreon. So there's a reason to come out, smoke, and have a drink with me in Blue Island. And Jason and Mike, seriously, thank you for sticking around to watch that, and thank you for all your time this evening. I appreciate you both.
Hell yeah, I'm proud of you, bro.
Yeah. Happy Labor Day, baby.
Hell yeah. All right.
Yes.
Take care, guys.
Peace.
Bye. All right, folks. Well, that was that. I just kicked them out of my Zoom stream because I found out that these YouTubes end too quickly, and I like there to be a neat ending. So they're probably like, why did he just kick me out? Because I don't know if they just saw the host kicked me out, but maybe they did. I don't know. I hope you all are having a great afternoon, evening. It's about 5:48 over here. I'm taking off. Take care, everybody. This is how I'm going to close out from now on. I'm going to give it a few seconds because I don't know, these live streams I'm going to switch platforms soon. Not that any of you are listening at this point anymore. So that hopefully we don't have as many technical difficulties. Zoom is not the greatest at streaming live. It's not the worst either. I'm not trying to diss on Zoom, but anyways, again, not that any of you care. Take care. Have a good one.